Hey, SMU! I am so excited to deliver this masterclass on the essentials of WordPress because that is something that I do a lot of work with. I am a WordPress designer and developer, and I'm also a social media manager and digital marketer. So I'm preparing this for you today from two angles. One from the idea that you might be maintaining client sites, or you might get opportunities to kind of support them with WordPress as part of your retainer and part of the work you do with clients, and also that you might want to create your own website to promote your services or grow your business, and you may choose to use WordPress as your platform. So in either case, I want you to be set up for success, because I do see a lot of people struggle with WordPress, at least initially. It's something that is a very, very popular platform, a very well-known one, and it's kind of sometimes a love or hate thing online when you see people recommending WordPress or other options like Squarespace and Wix and Weebly. So there is a world of difference between these, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to mostly focus on assuming that if you have made the choice to go with WordPress, how can you make sure that it is going to work for you? How can we avoid some of those common pitfalls, and how can we make sure we're really going to have a good time using WordPress, whether it is for a client site or for our own site? So I think it's quite likely that you will end up touching WordPress at some point during your journey as a social media manager, because 35% of the internet is powered by WordPress at the moment. You probably will see similar stats quoted, 28%, 30%, a third of the web. And those were all true. They're a little bit old. This is the latest stat that I could find, 35%. So chances are your clients are going to be using WordPress, and you might need to install a Facebook pixel for them. You might need to support them with their blogging strategy. Or you might want to build your own website on WordPress. You also, don't be fooled, WordPress isn't just a blogging platform. It isn't just for small websites either. You may come across very big brands that have WordPress as part of their tech stack, possibly even the backbone of their online presence. And why is that? Why do so many big brands and small brands alike love WordPress? In a nutshell, it's basically because it's one of those platforms that gives you this magic mix of control and flexibility, and opportunity to build almost anything. In fact, you could argue that you can build anything with WordPress. And it's also, it's powerful, and it's easy enough to use. I say easy enough because there are some things that you can do to, like a make or break kind of decision as you go, that can make things easier or harder. But it is popular for a good reason, because it gives you control of your data, of your user base, of your content. It gives you control to move around the web if you want. You're not locked into just one specific provider, and you have a lot of room to grow with WordPress. You have a lot of flexibility, portability, and customizability with your website. However, this is the face I see a lot when people are working with WordPress. So if this is you, if you've kind of tried before and you've been a bit confused, or if you've had a bad experience, or your clients, are insisting that they don't want to deal with WordPress anymore, etc., 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 you'll be familiar with this look, right? And honestly, I have to say, most of the time that people have a negative experience with WordPress, especially if they are a DIY website builder, a business owner, a service provider, someone who has done this either by themselves or in-house, one of their team or a family member has set up their website, they've usually got one of these 5 things wrong. So I like to call these the 5 essential elements to set you up for success on WordPress. And it is something that's best done at the beginning, but it's something that you can take care of at any point throughout your journey, and you can set yourself up well in these 5 areas. One little thing before we dive into them, I do need to clarify that I'm talking about WordPress as a self-hosted solution, which we call WordPress.org, because that's where you download it from. As opposed to WordPress as this third-party hosted solution. So this is where it's kind of managed for you. A lot of the stuff that I'm about to describe in terms of upkeep and all of these decision-making processes that you'll go through with getting a really awesome WordPress site are not a concern when you're using something like Squarespace or Wix or Weebly, because it's all taken care of for you, and that's what you're paying for with the monthly subscriptions. You're paying for someone else to do that, which means you don't have the control and flexibility of endless potential. So it is a bit of a trade-off, and WordPress does exist on the other side of that trade-off, where there is a subscription service, rent a site, website in a box, WordPress, but that is not what I'm talking about today. It is the self-hosted one that you download from WordPress.org and you install on a host. We'll get to that in a minute. Why this one? Well, this is how you get all those things that I described before. The freedom, the customizability, portability. WordPress is well known for being very SEO friendly and, like I said, easy to manage and safe and secure when you do it right. And it also has this endless option to integrate with other services and automate things and create workflows. So it really becomes part of your whole online ecosystem, much more than just a brochure or a shop or something that sits over there. It's a living, breathing part of your online presence and even your business backbone in some cases, whether that's blogs or e-commerce or membership sites or online courses. But if you haven't guessed already, with all that power comes responsibility. So we're going to talk about how we can set ourselves up for success on WordPress. Number one is maintenance. You have to be prepared that you're going to need to do some things to keep it under control and running smoothly under the hood. So this is things like doing plugin updates to WordPress core, making sure things are secure and still performing well, because as you install themes and plugins and do other work on your site, upload pictures and things, you can start slowing the site down. So maintenance is about optimizing it as you go, kind of constantly fine-tuning things like the page load speed if that's important, or SEO sort of moves more into the content management side, but there are some technical SEO considerations as well. And it's also just that fact that WordPress is a rich ecosystem. It does have contributors in the community, all these different plugins, and that's all different pieces of code, different like moving parts of a machine. And as WordPress is updated, as new code is released, often your host will update WordPress for you, which is really great if you choose a good host. Otherwise, you need to do that. And then also you need to update the plugins and the themes. So once a WordPress update comes out, the theme and plugin developers will update their own content and code solutions so that it can take advantage of the new features that WordPress has created, for example. So this does not have to be a difficult thing. There are some excellent solutions. And in fact, if you look into the other trainings that are available, I think there's one on plugins and pixels for WordPress. So I won't go into a lot of detail on that right now on how to manage maintenance, but there are solutions like Manage WP, Main WP, or even your host that can help you get a lot of that sorted. All right, secondly is a theme. You want to choose a good theme. So what is a theme? It's basically what controls the look and feel of your website. So things like your global colors and fonts, your header and footer, perhaps where your menu sits, does it slide out like this, or does it drop down like that? Things that affect the whole site are often powered by the theme. The theme also has more reach than just that. It can affect the back end of your site, so how you experience the admin panel, and even what customizations are available, what options are there, what drop downs and what click boxes exist in your admin interface can be dictated by the theme. So that's why it's important to choose a good one. Not all themes are created equal. The things that are going to let you change are different. The things that are going to even exist to do are different in different themes, and of course, how it looks to the user. So how do we choose a good one? Well, with themes, it does often come down to personal preference. I like to start with a blank canvas. Something like Astra is really good as a flexible base. So it's almost like, blank canvas. You can install demo sites and pre-populate layouts and things like that if you want or not. And I like that. Divi is another really, really popular option that can be done both ways. That can be sort of a blank canvas, or it can be pre-made little templates. Likewise, the rest of them here. These are all popular choices. They are robust themes. They're well-coded themes. So these are from trustworthy developers, and you would not go far wrong taking a choice out of any of these themes. You might also be tempted to get a fully pre-made theme. You might choose a premium one from something like Template Monster or Creative Market. And these can be good solutions too. A word of warning with those options, though, is that you don't know how old these themes are. Sometimes they look very modern and swish, but when you download them, the code might be years old. They could be using technology that has since, so we've moved on, and plugins have moved on, and now your theme is kind of living in 2016, and your plugins and things like that are having compatibility issues with it. And that can happen straight out of the box, which is really frustrating when you buy a new theme and install it and it's already old. So that's why I prefer to use these frameworks, because they are frequently updated and kept almost running smoothly. And to be honest, it's actually not that much more work to start from blank and build something beautiful using templates and using like some design tools that we're going to get to in a minute. It's almost as easy to do that as it is to start with an existing site and then have to kind of pull it apart and delete things and change the content and things don't fit exactly right. And you actually end up spending about as much time and energy as you would if you had just done it from the ground up. So that's definitely my approach with choosing a theme. It's definitely up to you. Third point, choosing a page builder. So this is what gives you the drag and drop experience. And a lot of the time, this is something that people were missing from WordPress for years. Now, here I want to talk about quickly the difference between pages and posts. So in WordPress, you'll start with these as 2 content types, and we may add more types as you go because it's customizable and you can. But a page is what we're going to talk about here when I'm talking about the page builders. Posts are more like just blog entries, and we wouldn't necessarily use a whole design framework just for a post, right? They've got like just sort of a little template that you fill in, and it looks like this. This is how you will create posts on WordPress. It's their new block editor. If you've used WordPress previously, you would have made posts with the classic editor that looks like this. The classic editor and the block editor, known as Gutenberg, are available to use for pages as well as posts. This is just basically how WordPress comes. And you can create pages using these things, but I much prefer to install a page builder because it gives you more flexibility, it gives you more design choices, and it gives you a lot of the pressure taken off when it comes to building out pages. So leave those for posts, they're great. For pages, pick something like Elementor or Beaver Builder or Divi. These things are page builders. So what you see here is you have modules down the side that you can drag and drop on. So you can add your content, you can add images, you can add different forms and groups, whatever you need as you lay out your page. And here's where it comes down to personal preference, what you need in your page builder, because what components are drag and droppable will be different. And how you actually engage with this interface to do the dragging and dropping is different. So with your page builder, it's really up to you. You can also keep in mind that this is for each page. So remember, your theme was for your overall website, and this is now how we can lay out the home page, the services page, the contact page, the FAQs page, our landing pages, right? We can make sales pages. We can build funnel pages out in WordPress too. And there is a little bit of a blurry line between the themes and the page builders, and even the page builders and the plugins that we're going to come to next. And you might find that you don't need a page builder if you've got a theme like Divi, which is actually both. So Divi you can install just as a plugin, which gives you the page builder functionality, or you can install it as a theme, which gives you both. Beaver Builder also is a double whammy that has both. So it's really a case of what you need in your site. And we're going to come to that in one of the points that I make later. My personal preference here is to go with Astra and Beaver Builder. So Astra as the theme and Beaver Builder as the page builder. You can start for free with both of them and actually stay free forever if you don't need all of the full suite of features. Otherwise, you can upgrade to the paid Astra or paid Beaver Builder as you need. With Divi, I think that it's paid from the get-go. There might be a free trial period. Elementor as well, you'll have to look into. It all comes down to basically your project needs and team skills. Now, with the page builders, one thing to note, I'll draw your attention to is, again, the modules. So this is something that there's overlap. Themes can install modules for you. Themes might have little widgets, like little timetable things or staff profile things or testimonial widgets. So your theme might inject some of these sorts of things. Your page builder might, or you might even choose to use a plugin to do it. And this is where people can get kind of tangled with WordPress, and they can really bloat their site. They can install things that you have 2 things doing the same thing. So when it comes down to making a choice, I like to try to separate concerns and have the theme be just what controls the global look and feel. I don't like my theme to try to encroach on what I would consider page builder or plugin territory. but each their own. So let's talk about plugins. You really got to pick the right ones here. Plugins are very, very powerful, but they're also very risky. And there's a lot of people who kind of get nervous about using plugins. And here's my point again. This is really where that responsibility starts getting more impactful, because with themes and page builders, which are plugins, there's quite I think it's quite easy to find popular ones and well-respected ones, and there's kind of like a couple of front runners, and it's easy to choose. When it comes to plugins, you've got a massive wide world out there, and you need to use it more discretion with what you choose to install on your site. So plugins are here. You'll find them again down in the back end under plugins. You can add new and you can see what's installed. Here's an example. You can install a classic editor if you wanted to go back to the old way. If you're not a Gutenberg fan with the new block editor in WordPress, you could install that to take you back in time and use the classic editor. Other things that you use plugins for are page builders. We talked about, they're all plugins. Facebook pixels, you can install them, like a little code snippet plugin. Analytics as well, Google Analytics. SEO, you've got things like Yoast and the SEO framework, and SEO Press. Security, you've got backups and performance and social, like pulling in feeds and integrating share icons and that kind of thing. All of these features can come from plugins. They can also come from your theme, and you also might have some of them covered in your page builder. So it's the kind of thing that you just need to have a bit of a step back and see what it is that you need to fill in gaps and start plugging them in. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some suggestions. I know it can seem very daunting when you do have a world of choice open to you. So let's just look at it from the perspective of a social media manager. The kinds of plugins you're likely to need on a website for yourself or your clients are something to let you drop Facebook pixel code, something to drop Google Analytics code, perhaps, social sharing or social feeds, lead generation, so email opt-in, email capture, and good SEO, right? So a lot of these things I would recommend. Facebook Pixel, I like to use Tracking Code Manager. And I use the same actually for Google Analytics. So Tracking Code Manager is a plugin that lets you install up to 5 pieces of tracking code, and that covers basically all the needs that I have had for most of my clients. If you want to install a more beefy analytics solution, you can actually start seeing charts and things in your WordPress dashboard, but I prefer to leave it nice and simple. All I do on the website for Google Analytics is drop in the tracking code. I actually deal with looking at all of the data over on Google Analytics or other dashboards. So it's really a tailored thing. You do have to make some of these choices yourself. Social sharing and feeds, you might want something like Feed Them Social. This has a lot of different social platforms, and it's got a great free and paid version. You might go for something like Ad Espresso, which is, the names escape me. I'm going to drop a resource file for all of these different plugin links. So there's quite a few popular ones in terms of social feeds. In terms of lead generation, this is going to depend on what your email platform is. So ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or something like that will usually have a companion plugin for WordPress, and you would use that. With Divi, Bloom is a really popular one. And you can often drop code directly from your marketing platform, or you can use a plugin to design your opt-in forms right there on WordPress. Lots of ways to skin a cat with something as powerful and flexible as this platform. SEO as well, you've got kind of two ends of the spectrum, just making sure the site's SEO friendly. It's like hooked up to Google Analytics and the Search Console, and it's integrated with their Google account. And you've got a plugin like Yoast or the SEO framework, and you've ticked kind of all the boxes. Now it's considered SEO friendly. SEO optimized is when you really start going into the settings and changing things around, perhaps working on some of the things that your website is reporting as concerns. So you can run your website through different scans, and it can say, hey, you've got concerns under this kind of performance and this sort of security issue and whatnot. And you may solve some of those in your search engine settings, or in your next category here in the peace of mind with backups and security and such, you might solve them in caching or performance or a firewall plugin. So on that note, Best practice with WordPress is definitely to have something installed to take care of security. WordFence is a good one, and Securi as well. With backups, this is going to depend whether you've got a third-party hosted solution, third-party service like Managed WP that is taking care of backups for you, or if your host is taking care of backups for you. If neither, or if you just want another, then you can have a plugin that can do automatic backups or manual backups at your leisure. So Updraft Plus is a popular one. BackWP Up is another. And really, there's a whole wide range of resources in that area too. So with that, it's something you need to do a bit of research on, have a look at what is currently popular. I'll leave a list of what is my recommendations at this point in time, but by the time you watch this video, there may be something new on the block. All right, we're down now to choosing a good host. This is important for WordPress as well, because like I said at the beginning, this is a self-hosted website solution. So we're not paying Wix or Squarespace or someone else to host our site and provide the platform to build it on, and take care of the security and performance and stuff on the back end. Instead, we're like, hey, give me all of that. I want to take care of it because I can also do anything else I want. Thanks. So that means you do have to do those things. You have to pick a host and you have to choose well. So with your host, why? Why do you have to choose well? What are they even there for? Well, a host is basically where your website lives. So you need a domain name, which is the address, and then the host is like literally the block of land that your website is sitting on. Your host can affect your performance and your site speed, because that block of land, if it's like on a server, really, remote, they don't have a lot of copies of their servers, they don't have good infrastructure or whatever, they've got a really cheap host, you're some guy in his garage, you're not going to get that excellent performance on your site versus going with some of the big players that have all that under control. It also is going to have a big impact on your tech support experience and whether your site's easy to maintain. If something does go wrong, which it can do with plugin incompatibilities and other updates that you might do as part of your routine, if your site goes down, do you trust your host to get it back up and running quickly? Are they responsive? Can you reach them at any hour? These are the things that I would be considering when I'm choosing a host. So host as well can help you with your encryption, with your security on your site. So getting an SSL certificate, a lot of the good ones will give you one for free. They will also usually include backups and restore services in your hosting. Tech support is usually included, even usually a free migration. So if you're moving a WordPress to WordPress from another host, and also they will be a player when it comes to the success of your security and your performance. So these ones currently on screen are recommended by me. I really like SiteGround. WP Engine and Flywheel are a little bit more costly, and they come with some more peace of mind around that and some extra services. And Green Geeks are very environmentally friendly, sort of equivalent to SiteGround. So where are we so far on these 5 must-dos to set you up for success on WordPress? We've talked about how we need to be prepared to do routine maintenance. We also need to start with a solid theme, one that's going to work well for us and what we need to do. We want to find a page builder and install it so we get that drag and drop experience. We also want to choose the right plugins, because with great power comes great responsibility. And we also want to pick a good host. I have one more for you, a bonus. This is something that's a little bit cheeky because it's not strictly WordPress related, but this is whatever you do, whatever website platform you choose, you need a plan. Do not just try to build with off the, flying by the seat of your pants. It's fun. It is fun. I will give you that. I really enjoy just installing random different templates and dragging things around. But at the end of the day, this is how we end up with really bloated sites that are slow to load, that we can't even remember what we did in the back end. The client, can't update herself because it's just a mess. That all stems from getting a bit excited, just jumping in, figuring out as you go, which kudos to you for doing that. If you've gone in kind of blind and still made what you could of it, that's awesome. Next time round, a plan is going to do you well. So this is, like I said at the beginning, limitless potential is basically WordPress's thing, but that means we have to create our own bounds. So what are your bounds? Well, we've talked about a lot of them already. If you take time to think about what you need logistically and how you're going to maintain your site, what your updates are going to look like and things like that, how often you're going to do it, whether it's going to be you or if you're going to outsource that, that will help you determine who you choose for your host, where you buy your domain from, and what your plan of attack is with updates. If you think ahead about your look and feel and what you need your page, your website to do and look like, then that's going to help you choose your theme and your page builder. And if you know what features you really need and what services you need to integrate with, then you know what plugins. You get at least a better idea of what you need to look for in your plugins. And these would be all your things like your e-commerce and your email marketing and integrating out with other services or just extending features of WordPress. What else? What else can we do before we dive into WordPress to make sure that we have a solid plan? Think about our content and our design. This doesn't have to be professional design work and epic wireframes. This can be a sketch that you make of how you think what things are going to go on your homepage. You could also go and find websites that you like. I don't just mean that look pretty. I mean ones that you think, hey, I like the way they laid that out. I think my services would look good presented that way too. It could just be as simple as taking some screenshots and annotating them, or just doing a dump of like all of the pages that go under your menu. What's your navigation structure going to be? At least going into your site knowing that, like a bit of a map of what the site the structure will be, will set you up much better than diving in without thinking of content or design. So now you know how WordPress is different to other popular solutions and what that means for you. It creates a lot of opportunity and it also creates a lot of responsibility. And that area is where people mostly have fallen down. They haven't had a plan, they haven't picked out a good theme or chosen it well with their host, or didn't even know they needed a page builder, or all these sorts of things. Usually those are where some issues stem from if they're not enjoying their WordPress experience. Now you know better. And it doesn't have to be hard. It really doesn't. It's something that can be even an upsell that you can serve your clients with, because chances are, even if you're not a designer or developer, who can take care of that whole WordPress system, you can take care of their blogs, install their analytics and Facebook tracking, and make sure that things under the hood are updated at least once or twice a month, and charge your client for that peace of mind. You could also choose to outsource it and just have that as an add-on. So whichever way you go, there are lots of options there now that you know how WordPress is different. I've also recommended to you some plugins for social media managers, but with this one, I did want to do separately a document so that you can have easy access to all the links and you can read about what those plugins include. And most importantly, you know now how to set yourself up for success on WordPress and what my 5 essential elements, or 6 essential elements if we count a strategic plan. All right, I would like to see you guys go and rock WordPress. I think you're ready. I think you can do it. I'd love to see your websites. I'm in SMU. I'm available for help and questions and support. And I would really love to support you more on your journey, answer any questions you have, and see you rock WordPress. Thanks, SMU. See you later.